our brand new coach who is gracing the floor at T2FIT in Old Coulsdon, and that is Mr. Sam Williams.
I was spending all my time in the gym, dropped a barbell on my shoulder weightlifting, dislocated the shoulder, had shoulder surgery. But in that time I kind of found other forms of training. Running, fell in love with, cycling, fell even more in love with, and just different ways to move the body. When you join a new thing, you're not going to be the best, and you probably shouldn't be the best. But just not being afraid of starting, I think is the big thing.
Paris Marathon coming up.
Yep.
And you've got the London Triathlon.
Triathlon wise, a lot less preparation. Great at the cycling, great at the running, can't swim yet. So when I was younger, I'm not bad at it, I can doggy paddle. When I was younger, I had really bad ear issues.
How would people describe you as a coach?
Enthusiastic, I'm quite fun, light-hearted, but also got an attention to detail and everything. Empathetic, I like to find out how people are feeling before the session. Childish, probably. Just fell in love with the group environment. I think just when you're in that space of multiple people in the room, all of different levels, it's very empowering.
Sam, what's your biggest fear?
Chickens.
Hello and welcome to the T2FIT Talks podcast, where we aim to educate and inspire individuals to achieve their full potential. I'm your host JT, and today in episode 23, we're giving you an access all areas insight into our brand new coach who is gracing the floor at T2FIT in Old Coulsdon, and that is Mr. Sam Williams. How are you, sir?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. I'm cold.
Good. It's chilly, isn't it?
If I haven't mentioned that already, but
it's freezing.
Other than that, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I believe this is your first ever podcast.
It is. Who knows? Maybe the last. We'll see what, we'll see what happens.
No, we had Ben back on, so you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. I guess the first question is, how have you found things at Coulsdon so far?
It's been really good. It's been really, really good. It's been, it's because obviously I did a few sort of sessions before joining full time, so it kind of felt like I got to know everyone pretty well beforehand. So it feels like it's been longer than a week in a lovely way.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I would agree.
And yeah, it's just going really well. Learning lots of new stuff, meeting lots of new people, and really enjoying it. Really enjoying it.
Love that. So I guess the first thing I really want to dive back into is, because I've got a little bit of an insight, but I think I'm going to learn quite a lot here today as well, which is going to be cool. Give us a little bit of a backstory, a bit of history on you, and I guess mainly around your training, so the training that you actually have done yourself, any events, that kind of stuff. And then we'll kind of delve into the coaching side a little bit later on. Yeah,
so basically I started, football was always my sport. Played lots of football when I was younger, went out to America briefly to play kind of college level football, didn't go very well, and then came back.
Soccer.
Yeah,
okay.
And American sport. And came back, never really played football since, just kind of fell out of love with it. And because probably a bit, during university, quite lost with it, I guess, sort of, that was my thing and I didn't really have it anymore. Found training fun, like kind of weightlifting training, kind of going to the gym, fun, but kind of just a bit lost with it, I guess, really like that. And then kind of meandered through university a little bit, kind of just, let's say, just going through the motions. And then it's probably when I went into advertising in another life, was when I really started to enjoy the gym properly. Sort of a bit of like an outlet, it was quite a stressful job. I wasn't loving it, but great people. Just kind of found it as my way to escape from sort of stresses and anxieties of life at that point. Nothing competitive with it, just kind of more physique-wise, was lifting a lot, not moving very much, so kind of could barely move left and right, but could move forwards and backwards. And then kind of carried that on really, kind of got back into football a little bit, but nothing kind of crazy. And then it was at that point I was I was really needing a career change, so wanted to do a bit more personal training, left my job, became a PT, and then when you're not working in the gym is your outlet. When you are working in a gym, you sometimes need another outlet. So I was probably a little bit stuck on then. I was spending all my time in the gym, wanting to kind of find some other stuff just as a sort of thing out of work to do. Love my cycling, do a lot of road biking, lycra up, full gear.
Yeah, I've seen the Instagram. I mean, like, we're talking full lycra as well.
I take it seriously.
Yeah.
Take it seriously. Fallen off once. And then it kind of all changed probably after I've dropped a barbell on my shoulder weightlifting. I won't go into too much detail, but dislocated the shoulder, was out for quite a long time with that, happened a few more times, had shoulder surgery, and that really changed the perspective for me, I guess, on sort of just being able to move my body. I was probably about a year in recovery from sort of surgery to back to a state of movement. But in that time I kind of found other forms of training, because I wasn't able to do my typical weightlifting, all that stuff. Running, fell in love with. Cycling, fell even more in love with, and just different ways to move the body. I think having an overall physique body that can be doing more was a lot more important to me, rather than saying what I was deadlifting, getting PBs on that. Like, just moving the body became a lot more important. Being able to hold myself in a few different things, whether it be like a running event or a cycling event or whatever it might be, not being the best, but just being able to just do whatever I needed to do at the time, and that became a lot more important. So weightlifting took a bit of a back seat, to the point now where I'm signing up for the Paris Marathon in a couple of months' time now, and then doing the London Triathlon in the summertime. So it's probably the journey there. So
love that.
Mixed modalities.
That's a journey. That's what I'm gonna be on. So I'm going to go back, because I didn't actually realise. So whereabouts in America, and what university were you at when you were playing football?
It was a very small community college in it was called Lassen Community College in Susanville, which was a state prison. It's the thing there. So yeah, all the other criminals out there, and me. And yeah, it was really in the sticks. So very northern I believe northern California, kind of like Nevada sort of way. Yeah, completely in the sticks. Very kind of isolating. Wasn't quite what we thought it was going to be when we got out there. And yeah, basically I had a month and a half or so out there, and just made the call quite quickly that it just wasn't, because at that stage I was going to go into like a big university in a couple of years' time, but where I lost trust in the process, I was like, I don't want to do 2 years here and then God knows where I'll be in the future. So I made a bit of a call to come back home, found Brighton University, which was great for me, but not really wanted to be. And yeah, we evolved from there basically. So short but sweet trip.
So that experience that you had in the States, was that something that I guess was a catalyst to you maybe falling out of love with football?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And also it was a big thing for me in how you treat people. I always like to think of myself as someone who's respectful and stuff like that, but really just being honest with people at the beginning and being genuine, not selling people false dreams or all that stuff, and just kind of, I wasn't the only one involved. Like, there was quite a lot of us went out there, and then it just wasn't right how you treat people, and that was just a big thing for me about kind of, yeah, just I lost the confidence probably as well. Just didn't want to play it anymore, and yeah, but it wasn't like I came home and I said I'm never going to play football. It just fell out of love and just stopped playing it, and kind of went from there really.
So then you came back, you got into a bit more of the, I guess, the weight side of things. Like you said, you were working in advertising at the time. How long ago was that?
That was, I was probably about 21 when I left uni, so about 9 years ago now, which is flying by. But yeah, about 9 years ago, first thing I did when I came out. And yeah, that was more just a young, late teen, early 20-year-old, just wanted to be in some sort of shape. I was quite a dweeby little child, and then wanted to get a bit stronger, and yeah, that was nothing more to than that really. But
I guess being in that environment in advertising, I guess you can relate really well to, a number of clients that we work with when it comes to, working in office jobs and living to more sedentary lifestyles, and having to find, as you alluded to earlier, that outlet of finding, the gym, whether it be a stress reliever, whether it be about movement, burning additional calories, whatever it may be. So you can really relate to that.
100%. I think I always say the exercise is finding, before you get into it, it's always knowing what you want to get out of it. It's kind of how I look at it. If you want a performance-based thing, you're going to have to do a performance-based thing. If you're looking for fun, if you're looking just to move the body because you want to enjoy your social life outside of it, just making sure it works for you in that sense. And for me, I wanted something that was fairly sociable but also quite performance-y based, because I was quite competitive. And yeah, it's important when you're in quite I wasn't that senior, but when you're stressed, it's important to have some form of release. And also the confidence I got from going to the gym was huge. Just, it's always ironic, because when you work in the gym setting, people tend to train a little bit more. People are in better shape typically, but whatever that better shape is for people. But when you're in advertising and you're or in an office job, not everyone is as interested in being in fitness because they don't work in it. That's not necessarily their thing. But it was almost sort of, finding that thing that makes you enjoy outside of it and gives you the confidence when you're coming in to feel confident in yourself, to not necessarily fill out a t-shirt, but you're a bit healthier. Your body's in a position to do what you want to do with it, what you want to do. Yeah. That was probably the key thing.
Yeah. And then I guess fast forward a little bit, and we'll come on to the coaching and how you got onto that in a second. But you mentioned earlier about then when you work in a gym environment, how you then need to find an additional outlet kind of outside of that. Yeah. I think that's where the running and the cycling kind of came in for you. How did you find those things? I know obviously running and cycling is always going to be available to us, but how did you find that as your new outlet?
Cycling was more, because Cycling more of, I started as a fair weather cyclist. It was a summertime thing I did with Dad, purely when it was nice weather and nice and sunny outside. And yeah, he was into his cycling to a degree, as a lot of fathers, sometimes fathers are. They like to get on their bike. It was actually a trip went to Mallorca, big cycling place there, and I enjoyed cycling, but never to a degree. And we've got these road bikes for the first time, and just being on that was like different. That was faster, and it was just not on the mountain bike bouncing up and down. You're proper kind of streamlined, and yeah, just fell in love with it. Just the outsideness. I quite like speed, and I'm a very safe person generally, but I like the speed of things and the wind through the hair and just charging down a mountain or a hill quite quickly was probably what captivated me to the cycling stuff. Running was probably more force, and that's why I'm sort of grateful to a sense in what I went through with the shoulder, because I wouldn't have got into running, I'm pretty confident, if I was still able to lift weights, because I just would never have wanted to deviate from that. But the running was definitely, again, a freedom. I like the metrics of seeing improvement, and just when you are busy, sometimes you need to find the thing that's easiest to do. I find those two events, for me, I'm just like, if I need to get out, I could put my shoes on, have a quick stretch, and I'm out the house. Whereas sometimes with the gym, you've got your belt, you've got your shoes, and you've got all that stuff you need to kind of get ready, and you've got your pre-workout you want to have in sometimes, or do all that stuff. So sometimes just the simplicity of it is probably what attracted me as well. And just the different group of people you meet doing that stuff. I've met some really good friends doing cycling, running. People tend to go, actually, if you're going for a run, I'll go for a run. And like rather than socialising, say, down the pub, you end up going for a run instead. And for me, that's where I'm probably most comfortable from that perspective, yeah. So
you would just run to the pub?
Just run to the pub, run back from the pub.
If you go in, let me know, I'll come with you.
Get to the quickest pub you can and run back.
Absolutely, get the bus back, it's fine. When you think about, I guess, the running and the cycling, what can you kind of take from the running and the cycling and kind of take it onto the client side of things? Because I'm going kind of between two things. So when I think back to how you can relate to someone in an office, how can you then take like being outside on a bike, and how can you take running and apply that to a client?
I think there's probably two sides to it. I think there's the side of when you join a new job, when you join a new thing, you're not going to be the best, and you probably shouldn't be the best. And there's the journey of just discovering it, just starting at the beginning. Like there's a quote saying you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And just that kind of, if you don't do something new, you won't learn something new. And I might have started it and hated it. I've tried lots of physical things that I've started. Swimming, I'm still trying to get good at. But just not being afraid of starting, I think is the big thing. Like you're going to walk into, I remember turning up to, sort of unofficially to my first sort of cycling club, and you've got everyone there who looks like they're all lycraed up like you are, but then when you're all rolling off and they're going a lot faster and you're blowing to keep up with them, but at the same time they don't really care. Yeah. Because they were there at some stage. So I think when you're coming into a gym environment, we've all been in the gym for the first time, and you're walking in, everyone's greeting the coaches. They know whose works there. They know the routine of it, like their locker there and that. And it is intimidating not knowing your space in that gym, but just trusting that everyone's been in that same position. I think carried quite a lot of comfort for me of asking if you're not sure. Yeah. I think that's the big thing about if you don't know, ask. Yeah. And we've had lots of funny, quirky questions thrown at us throughout all of our journeys in life, whatever it is, and that's how you learn. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask for the help, because that's kind of also like why we're here in this sort of fitness space, in this context. But also just doing something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone a little bit. I'm not a fan of pushing yourself for the sake of pushing yourself, because I think in a world now where more's better all the time, like you don't need to, if you don't want to do something, you shouldn't force yourself to do something, because there's going to be no benefit to that long term necessarily. But if you want to try that thing out, try it out. The worst that happens is you don't like it, and you move on to the next thing, you find the next thing. But almost knowing what you don't like is as important as what you do like in that journey. And like I say, obviously T2 is such a great product, but if you're coming in and small group training is not for you, then that's what it is. But it's a great way to train, and you can learn new things from that setting.
Mm-hmm. Love that. So you've got Paris Marathon coming up.
Yep.
And you've got the London Triathlon.
Yep.
Have you taken part in any events kind of prior to now that we don't know about yet?
Ooh, running wise, done a few. So do a few sort of half marathons I've done, which the first one I did was in Crystal Palace, quite hilly.
I'd say quite spicy.
Which
then, yeah.
I didn't quite realise. Bought a brand new pair of white trainers in October, and they got ruined. But yeah, and I did the half marathon. Probably, I did 2 10Ks in all my life before that, factoring in running in football and other general running, but never a specific thing. And yeah, so that was the first insight, and that was really good actually, because I did it with a few friends that had done them before, and again learning from people that have been before you. We just did it really slowly, and just my thing was I didn't want to stop the whole way. That was my only goal. I didn't care what time I got. I had nothing to compare to, and we just ran the whole way, and I absolutely loved it. I think coming from a football background, I know you're rugby, so you don't get this probably as much, but there's so much abuse on the football pitch, like aimed at you, and it's a lot of hatred. And I was probably quite used to quite an uninviting environment growing up in sport, because it was just toxic sometimes. But in like running events, it's the most lovely, welcoming, friendly environment you could ever wish to be in, no matter what your level, no matter what your experience, and everyone's just in this space together, and the people that come first wait for the people that are kind of a bit behind them in a nice way, and and everyone's on their own journey, but you don't feel like you're behind anyone because you are just doing your own journey. And after that, did a couple more half marathons, couple of 10Ks, and just really enjoyed the racing of it. And I find the following the structure of a plan for me was the game changer. Us fitness coaches are not immune to discipline and motivation. If I've not got something to follow, I will not follow it. Yeah. And I think just picking up on the running stuff for me, following that plan, gave me a lot more discipline. It kept me on track with things. It kept me accountable to myself. And to the point now where I look forward to the runs, and it's just getting in the habit. When you're in the habit, it's less of a challenge basically there. Triathlon wise, a lot less preparation. Great at the cycling, great at the running, can't swim yet. So we've got the armbands out, and we're going to try and find some open water at some point. I've just got a wetsuit.
I've been in those shoes, mate. It's an interesting experience. Oh, hello. It'd be an interesting experience. Do you know what? Can you pool swimming? You happy with like swimming in the pool?
So when I was younger, I'm not bad at it. I can doggy paddle. But when I was younger, I had really bad ear issues. So I was never actually allowed. No, I wasn't allowed. I was never really able to swim until I was probably like pre-teen, so I was never that comfortable in the water. But after the shoulder surgery, I was very much like, I want to do things with my body I wouldn't have done before. Yeah. That being one of them. And yeah, I was meant to do it last year. Funny story, which I'll say another time. Meant to do it last year, and just the shoulder wasn't quite ready for it. So now I'm ready to push on with that. We've got the cycling, got the running done. Just need to learn.
Do you know what? The swimming's a really interesting one. I said this to Casper when he was doing his. Like, it's okay. The pool stuff's okay, but then when you get into the open water stuff, it's so daunting for a number of reasons.
Flailing everywhere. It's the cold water for me. I'm worried about.
Yeah, the cold water is definitely one of them. But just I realised that I hated being in like vast bodies of water with my head being submerged, which is not ideal. But it's an interesting experience. But yeah, it's a great skill though. I think it's a fantastic skill.
I think too, I never liked the marathon idea, because I thought the idea of doing one thing for so long was quite boring. But actually, and that's where the triathlon for me was quite good, because I love the running, cycling bit, swimming bit. I'll get to learn it. And just like that's me slightly pushing myself out of my comfort zone of things in a nice way and again, it doesn't matter where you finish, because you're going to get it done, and it's the sense of accomplishment that's the bit we're excited for.
So is an Ironman on the cards?
Yeah.
It's going to have to be.
Well, do you know what it was? So
I've got a ticket off.
I was looking for
Luke's got a ticket off.
Yeah, well, that's the next thing. I'll see your 4 a.m. training sessions. We ain't doing that again. But because I'm doing the T100. So with the T100, it's a bit more than the Olympic and that stuff, but half an Ironman.
Got you.
I think the half Ironman's a little bit longer, but no, the full Ironman is definitely on the. Yeah. If I can swim for the T100, I can learn to swim the rest of it, and that's the bit that. Yeah. And we'll see how Paris goes, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
In a few weeks' time.
With like 10 more pairs of shoes.
It's going to be it's expensive doing this stuff as well.
I said to you earlier, you've sent me on a absolute trainer envy thing. It's terrible.
But then I don't drink, so that's kind of where my money goes.
Yeah. Well, actually, in fairness, I've not been drinking properly for a while, so. Maybe I should treat myself to some shoes.
That's how I get around it.
There you go. Justified it straight away. Okay, so that's the training side. Let's go into the coaching side. What ultimately made you make that jump from advertising into wanting to be a personal trainer?
I think the main fear I had at the beginning was the change about how to secure a job. At school, it wasn't really questioned. At school, it was kind of no right or wrong. It was kind of what standard job are you going to go into? There wasn't really, if you're going to go into sport, it was a professional sport in some sort of sports science way, and that wasn't really me. So I think for quite a long time I was probably held back by, not held back, no one was holding me back, but the comfort of knowing I had a 9-to-5 job was all fine. And I was hating it, but it was all fine. It just got to the point where I was really struggling with it. I love being around people, I loved all that stuff, but just the numbers, it wasn't my forte. And I tried to go in more sports division of marketing as a way to see if that might have maybe made a change. It made no change. And then I just took the call to basically quit the job, learn an online personal training course, and just go for it, really. I was fortunate of an age where I was living at home still. I was comfortable in terms of if I needed some support, I had some support. And I just didn't want to miss up on the opportunity of getting X amount down the line, needing to support myself, and then that change, I'd regret it. So I thought if it goes wrong, there's always a space for me. And then I started off as a PT in Nuffield, absolutely loved it, wicked time, learnt loads. But ironically, when I started as a PT, I was like, a bit snobbishly, I can say, I was like, I'm not going to do coaching, I'm not going to do group stuff, I'm a PT, I'm going to be dedicated and I'm going to do one-on-one. I just didn't really love it as much. I found the class environment just one which I could truly be me in. I think when you're personal training, and I wasn't there for that long, but you're working towards the client in that space. So whatever the client's kind of the ask, the demands, that's what you're working towards. Whereas I felt like in the class I could portray myself in that group setting, and that's what one of my managers at the time said. In the class, you are yourself because it's your class. They're coming to you, whereas a PT, you're doing a bit more for them, and that's just the dynamic of it. And he was like, that's just how you're feeling more comfortable in it, more enjoyable in it. And then sort of was taking all the classes I could at Nuffield, but my job was a PT, which was a bit like I need to remember to do that stuff. And then I saw an advert for another, like a kind of Group X gym, no idea about them, and just fell in love with the group environment. I think just when you're in that space of multiple people in the room, all of different levels, it's very empowering. I just love the idea of everyone being in the same room, working towards the same thing, but at their level. And there's no kind of right or wrong. You and I are different abilities, but we can do the same class right now and we'll get what we want out of it. And that just camaraderie in a group, I think it just carries it from, I'm sure you agree, like it's just it's a wicked space to be when that room's like energetic, everyone's up for it. And it's just the energy I got from it. And for me, I always wanted to help as many people as I could. I found PT, as much as you can help people, don't get me wrong, you're helping that one person an hour. Whereas I love the idea of, I mean, in my old job, it's up to 40 people in a class. Here, like, it's small group stuff, 18, whatever. Like, you can help more people at once. And also, it doesn't have to be necessarily about the fitness side of it. And that's really, I mean, I know we spoke about it when I first joined. I think when I became a PT, very much in the mindset of, I love training because I want to be the best I can be fitness-wise, wherever that is. And actually, when you become a PT, you realise a lot of people aren't doing it for the same reasons you are. And adjusting to that was really interesting because you realise that for some people, you just need to have a joke with them. And that's how you're going to get the best out of them. Some people are there because they just need that hour to themselves. Some people are there because they want to hit a certain weight range, a certain goal, whatever it is. And whatever it is, that's fine. And I think when you're in that setting where it kind of works together, that's just a really fun experience. And when the room's rocking like it does, it feels brilliant to me.
If you could go back to day one of your kind of coaching career, I guess as a one-to-one personal trainer coming into Nuffield, what is the biggest bit of advice you would now give yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think back your abilities more. I think not fake it till you make it, but at the same time, everyone's starting off at some point, and when you're on the gym floor, when you're in a coaching, no one knows how long you've been there for. They'll only know how long you've been there for by the attitude you kind of give off or the air of angst you can give off sometimes when you're in that new job. And I always say to people is that when you're in a coaching position, when you're learning in front of everyone. Mm-hmm. And it's how you, for me, almost the before and after the class is as important as in the class. in terms of getting that camaraderie going with people, and almost kind of people want to see you succeed. It's in their interest, in your interest, and just take the confidence that you will learn, you will make mistakes, and people are all right with that, as long as you've built that good rapport up. I sort of strongly believe, I think if you're someone who isn't a people person, doesn't care, which we all do obviously, but if you're not that, you may well struggle learning in front of a group of people because you haven't got that buy-in, that connection. Whereas when people care, people see people care, and that's what draws people together. So I definitely say be more fearless, and probably just put myself out there a lot more. I'm probably better at it now, about getting connections, meeting people in different environments, and yeah, just being less fearless, being less fearful, being more fearless would probably be my best advice.
Now, you may have alluded to the next question already, kind of around, I guess, how you deal with the people in front of you. But what has been your biggest, I guess, mindset shift around coaching? Because for me, it was very much, a number of people already know this, but it was, I went in there, probably a little bit similar to you in some respects, where it was, I've come from a sporting background of quite a militant way of training, therefore everyone should train that way. And again, back to your point earlier, I think my biggest mindset shift and the biggest change to my coaching and how I do things is just the understanding that it's really okay to have different reasons for training.
Yeah.
But is there anything, is that yours still? Is that your biggest kind of mindset shift, or is there anything else?
I think I think the power of what exercise can do, because I was fortunate that I'm not so fortunate, but for me, exercise was never an escape from anything. It was, I loved it. And I definitely think, probably to the point, but I think the mindset shift now is it is an escape for people. It is a release for people. But for me, it was a love. And I guess that just I never take for granted the stories that we're told. I've been told by clients, ex-members, same for yourselves here. Like the stories you hear, you're not always aware of the impact you have from like the real stuff that they go, no, like that really did that for me. And it's great seeing people hit a PB. It's great seeing people get to certain places. But when you hear like a really touching story that you don't really understand until someone tells you it, and like I say, the impact we have on people, I think, is the thing that was probably my biggest mindset shift of how important it is to do, because we see it and you see people's confidence change. We've all got stories of members that came in probably quite nervous, and then they're the biggest cheerleader of the product because they've seen the journey themselves, and just the journey people go on in their fitness journey, I think is probably the biggest mindset shift for me.
Love that. One of the biggest changes for me in kind of how I approach things was when I got injured. Did that shoulder injury for you change things at all? Like in terms of the way that you maybe even approached training yourself, how you program, anything like that?
Mindset wise, it was really important for me, I think, because it actually before the shoulder, probably my physique was a lot of my confidence. I'm not saying I was the biggest person, but I took a lot of pride in it. But it actually made me realize that actually there's more to me than a physique, and there's more to me than like Gym Sam. And I think had I had that injury probably 2 years before it, I'd have probably been quite a bad place probably mentally, because that was me. It's made me more appreciative, definitely, of things. And it's easier said than done when you're through it and you've got through it. But definitely when people now come and say, oh, I've got an injury, and they go, I'm out for 5 weeks, it's really not that long. It feels like a lot. Like, don't get it feels like a long time, and it is frustrating, especially if you've got like specific time-related goals. But the time will pass, and you will come back stronger than you were. And actually, the time does go quickly when you look back. I mean, I look back and I probably feel like I lost 18 months to my shoulder, but actually now it's enabled me to do more things looking forward. So I definitely think that you have to be nimble in life. I think like things will come up, whatever, injury wise, whatever. You have to be nimble with it. You have to be ready for change, and how you adapt, really. So I think adaptivity was definitely something that I changed about myself. I've stopped chasing big numbers on weights now, because I fear it going wrong again, and I've just come to my realization now of I'd rather do, one of my friends says, be constantly good, like sort of consistently good, occasionally great. Yeah. And that kind of mindset of it, definitely. And yeah, just being adaptable and enjoying it more. I think if you don't enjoy it, it's got a bit of a shelf life, and you end up chasing these numbers, and you get to that number, and then what's next? And you kind of go, actually, I don't really enjoy it because I'm hurting all the time. And actually, I'm not doing anything with it. I've not got a competition coming up, and then that's why I'm working. Understanding why you're doing what you're doing has probably been a big shift as well.
Yeah,
really big thing there.
Now, every coach at some point in their kind of coaching career, will say, has like laid their life down for like a thought or a certain method, which now they look back on it and go like, oh, I was really wrong about that. What would be yours? Because I've got two off the top of my head straight away that I would have bet everything I owned against the fact that this was the best thing ever. Number one was sheer amount of like just mobility.
Okay.
I probably
used, more like you should do.
As in, I used to get ripped about it all the time. I could probably warm up and mobilize for 40 minutes.
Oh, interesting.
Before grabbing a barbell, but I went into the realms and the teachings of Kelly Starrett and all that kind of stuff, and got obsessed with it. And kind of the CrossFit realms at the time was very much that way. And I would have laid my life on the fact that it was the way to be.
Yeah.
That, and everyone must do certain movements.
Yes. Yeah.
Which again, I've completely 180'd on. But what would be maybe your top one or two?
Probably the top one would be probably like the bro split.
Oh yeah.
That would probably be you do your chest on your Monday.
Yeah. You
do your back on the Tuesday, and you work through each single muscle groups.
Just make sure it's arms on Friday.
Absolutely, my arms every day.
Yeah.
But yeah, probably being like honing on one thing every day. Again, if you're a bodybuilder, that's the style. Knock yourself out. What's the other? I think the other thing as well is beasting every session. I think that for me is like you need to come out of that workout crawling. And don't get me wrong, we all like a bit of a sweat sometimes, and you like a big session, but I think every day the stress you put your body under, and I think now we're learning more about like cortisol and stress in the body and what are good things to do to prevent all that. And actually there's quite a lot of research now showing that if you've got a stressful job, you're not sleeping very well, beasting yourself in a 20-minute HIIT session is probably not the best thing to be doing. Yeah. Which is obviously coming out now. I would say, yeah, beasting yourself in those sessions. I think also I was probably very single-minded. I can't even give you an example. I was very single-minded. I get some research from somewhere, that's the way.
Yeah.
I get research from there, that's the way. And I wouldn't really question it or see how it could apply to people. I go, oh, well, they know what they're talking about. And they're not wrong necessarily, but I think the application of information is definitely something that I've had a shift on. And also there are all these fancy methods, but it's kind of whatever's in front of you. And that's what I love about the T2 method. It's not simple, does it a disservice, but it's a sensible, structured program that works. I think we end up chasing these, I don't say fads, but we end up chasing these things that people see online, or we have this preconception from like years ago that this is what you do, and everything needs to be overcomplicated. Yeah, 100%. I think that's probably the big thing for me.
Different question. If you weren't coaching, what do you think you'd be doing now?
Well, a school assessment said I'd be a farmer.
A farmer?
You know those questions you do when you get like the like your likes, dislikes? Yeah. They said a farmer. If I wasn't so squeamish, a policeman.
Interesting.
I'm really squeamish, but I've always wanted to be in the police.
Yeah.
There's kind of two ways. I'd either been something that allowed me to do more fun stuff outside of it, like a quite a strict 9-to-5 job, maybe like an advertising thing, but it gives me the freedom outside to do what I wanted to do, or having a job like a fireman or something, like a more vocational fun job that meant I wasn't striving for releases outside of it.
Yeah,
would probably be the two angles.
You don't fancy the farming, no?
Again, a bit squeamish.
Oh yeah, well, in fairness, we'll come on to that actually later on in the old quick fire. We'll come on to that. They'll figure out in a bit why I'm laughing.
Why I'm crying.
Yeah. You've worked with a lot of people obviously over the years in large group sessions and all that kind of stuff. How would people describe you as a coach? What would they say your kind of coaching style probably is?
Enthusiastic. I like to think my application's improved. I'm quite fun, light-hearted, but also got an attention to detail and everything as well. Like I don't try to let much slip. There's fun, but you also you've got a job to do and you need to make sure people are moving well. Empathetic. I always, like I say, I like to find out how people are feeling before the session to engage with how they're going to be during the session. Like if someone's had a rubbish day at work or there's been a lot going on and it's not going to be their biggest session. So I think adaptability about if someone just needs to show up that day, that's fine. I think we get sometimes too caught up with, again, you're there, you need to do this, you need to do that. If it's not there that day, it's not there that day. I think enthusiastic, empathetic, childish, probably. Bit childish, quite loud, mildly irritable. But yeah, they're probably the 5 words that would.
You potentially have answered my next question, which is quite a tricky question. I thought it was like, what would you say the people's biggest misconception is of you as a coach?
Ooh, probably I'm quite my coach top on. I'm probably more outgoing than I am myself, but I'm probably more. I've got this confidence when I've got the coach uniform on, I coach. I've got this confidence in myself that I know what I'm doing in this environment. Get me in like a social setting though. I'm one of the quietest people at the back, drinking my Pepsi Max, chatting football with another guy who doesn't want to be chatting to the rest of the group. You know, that's probably me. So, and also like my music choice is very like kind of drum and bassy, quite beaty and that. But I've never been to a concert or I've never been to a gig. It fills me anxiety. But in like in a setting, I love it. But in an outer setting, absolutely not.
Have you found, like, speaking to different coaches, that there's a number of coaches that way? Because again, I would be very similar to that, which we've kind of briefly spoken about before. Like when I kind of go into coach mode, I'm not me.
Yeah.
But I guess there's an air of confidence that you have and you have to a certain degree. But then I go home and it's like, well, I could quite happily just sit in a quiet room in the dark and be on my own. Have you noticed that that's a common theme, or would you say the opposite?
I think you get both ends of the spectrum. I think you get and I think you need both ends of the spectrum from like a member client perspective. I think when you're doing Group X particularly, it's important to have a range of characters. I call it kind of like Sam Plus. Like I'm still sort of me, but I'm a little bit more charged up. No, I think it's important to have the people that are very extroverted, because we're all people, because we wouldn't do this job if we weren't. But I think it's important as well, though, from members to have that person who maybe isn't as outgoingly talkative, is maybe in your face. I'm not saying that in a derogatory way, but like you're not in your face as much confidence, but you feel like if you needed to pull them for a chat, they're right there with you. And I think it's nice then when you've got the members that like the crazy coach that's just loud and just energy, and they're there just to get kind of worked hard. There's that side of it, and then you've got like the more kind of introverted coach that's still great in a group environment to give you that blend of people. I think it's probably but yeah, I'd say it's pretty even split.
Nice.
So it's pretty even split.
Right, we're gonna wrap things up with a quick fire question round, and just to let everyone know that if you're listening to this, watching this, he has no idea what's coming. He only has 5 seconds to answer, so it's got to be like off the cuff. I think we're going to learn more about you during these 18 questions potentially than all the other stuff combined. So I'll be smooth and concise as best I can.
Yep.
5 seconds. I want to say like put 5 seconds on the clock. I've always wanted to say that. I'm not sure it's going to work, but anyway. Are you ready?
Ready.
Quick fire with Sam Williams.
Let's go.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
What's one thing you see people get wrong in their training that you wish you could fix instantly?
The hinge.
What's your go-to hype song in the gym?
Something sub-focus.
Squat, bench or deadlift, if you could only do one forever, which would it be?
Deadlift.
That's quick.
Yeah.
Books or movies?
Oh, neither.
You
Can't read
choose.
Movies, but I'll fall asleep. I'm not very good at that stuff.
Sub question,
Yeah.
What kind of genre of movie?
Comedy.
Love that. Morning workouts or late night workouts?
Cardio morning, weights evening.
Okay,
I'm quite strict on that.
I'll slightly give you that.
Thank you.
Beach holiday or city break?
City break.
One food you could never give up, no matter how clean you try to eat.
Pizza.
Fair. Who would play you in a movie about your life?
I don't really know many actors. Bradley Cooper.
Well, you've shot big.
Yeah.
Bucket list trip / holiday destination. I think you told me it's on the way in.
Route 66.
Route 66, yeah. The weirdest fitness trend you've ever tried?
Oh, taking those fat burning pills. That was, I don't know if it's a trend, it was a mistake.
Fair.
But yeah, the fat burning pills probably.
I'm going to put this out there. This next one's a bit of a make or break. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Thank you. God for that. If you had a coach, if you had to coach only one exercise for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Squat.
What is your guilty pleasure?
I like a dairy milk chocolate bar. The big one.
It's got to be the big one.
Yeah, not the little. Don't do by house.
Netflix binge or outdoor adventure?
Outdoor adventure.
If you could train with any athlete, past or present, who would it be?
Oh, any athlete. What is it? More than 5 seconds. Freddie Lundberg was always my favourite football player growing up.
Freddie Lundberg. Where have you pulled that from?
So he had red hair. My dad will laugh at this, but red hair, and my mum will laugh at it as well. Like red hair, he was a cool guy.
I could have thought about maybe 200 people.
I know, it's random. I think that was like a childhood dream growing up. Freddie Lundberg was like my sporting idol. I called my cat Freddie because of Freddie Lundberg. There's no logic. He just had cool hair.
So you got a cat, but you prefer dogs?
He's died now, but yeah.
Oh, well, okay. We'll move on swiftly. Winter or summer?
Winter.
Last one. Sam, what's your biggest fear?
Ooh, the dark.
No, it's not. Don't give me that.
The initiation?
No, it's not.
The biggest fear? I'm scared now.
Because I know exactly what it is, because you told me in the coaching meeting the other day.
Oh, chickens. Oh, I thought he was going to go worse than that. Yeah, chickens.
Also, the other reason that you probably couldn't be a farmer.
Because I'm not very good at the bleep test.
So and that was actually the end of your quiz, but I need to delve into this. And the reason that I've ended on this is you need to explain the chicken thing.
I just think they're unpredictable animals. There's no kind of. I have not had a bad story. A friend of mine, he had chickens in his garden. We'd be playing table tennis, and a chicken would kind of go. It was quite scary. But I think they're unpredictable because the flapping of the wings and the pecking. I feel like it's the one bird that doesn't evade you when you pass some aggression towards it, and it comes towards you. Yeah.
Well, there you go. If anyone,
I don't like geese. I mean, it's geese and chicken. I mean, chickens are I'll eat them.
So basically, anyone at T2FIT Coulsdon or Pearly
don't
or the outer areas,
please don't bring a chicken in.
If you own a chicken or a chicken suit and you're willing to donate one for at least half a day, then please do let me know, because I would be highly interested.
And I'll quit.
We are going to finish it there. I feel like I now know you better, which is awesome. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. And there you go, ladies and gents, episode 23 in the books. We now know all about Sam Williams and his fear of chickens. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you again very, very soon.